Welcome to the orientation video for your new Yamaha sport boat. Yamaha's line of exhilarating sport boats, including the LS 2000, LX 210, and the AR 210, are designed to deliver more features and more boating fun. Thank you for choosing a Yamaha sport boat. This video will introduce controls and features and show important pre-launch checks and maintenance requirements specific to your boat. It will also cover some on-the-water rules and operational procedures that are common to the entire Yamaha sport boat family. Whether this is your first boat or you've been boating for years, we encourage you to pay close attention. This video does not replace your owner's manual, operation instruction card, or product labels. It is intended to reinforce the information that these items contain. Never allow anyone to operate your sport boat until they have completely read all of the instructional materials and, if possible, have watched this video. An important part of fun boating is safe boating. We encourage you to follow the instructions contained in the safety information section of your owner's manual. Remember, for example, that the sport boat is recommended only for operators 16 years of age or older, and that a responsible adult must always supervise a minor. Also, remember that no one should operate the sport boat after drinking alcohol or taking drugs. Sport boat operation requires common sense and good judgment, as well as skills and knowledge that must be learned. Take the time to become familiar with the craft and learn the basic techniques well before attempting more difficult maneuvers. Operate within your limits and avoid aggressive maneuvers to reduce the risk of loss of control, ejection, and collision. Always remember, this is a high-performance boat, not a toy. Let's look at the functions of some basic controls of the Yamaha sport boat. While the controls shown may have a different appearance than those on your new model sport boat, note that the principles of operation are the same. There are two main switches, one for each engine. The main switches control the ignition and electrical circuits. During operation, this engine shutoff cord or lanyard must always be attached to the driver. The clip on one end attaches to the engine shutoff switch, and the other end is attached to your personal flotation device. If you were to leave the helm, the cord would pull free of the stop switch and automatically shut off the engines. Be sure the cord is not tangled in the controls, as this could prevent it from pulling free of the shutoff switch. Remove the shutoff cord and keys from the boat after operation to avoid unauthorized use by children and others. Your steering wheel controls the direction of jet thrust. Combined with throttle, it determines the direction of the boat. Without throttle, a sport boat will not steer, except at a trolling speed, the lowest maneuvering speed. Each of the engines is controlled by a separate throttle lever. When these levers are all the way back, they are in the idle position. Moving them forward increases jet thrust. In normal use, you'll move both levers together. Note that there's an interlock. Before you can shift from forward to reverse, the throttles need to be pulled back to the idle position. The fuel shutoff valves are located under the center rear seat and should be shut off whenever the boat is in storage or during extended periods of non-operation. The shift lever controls forward and reverse boat movement by directing the position of jet thrust. The LS 2000 moves ahead and forward because all the thrust is to the rear. In reverse, gates drop down over the jet nozzles to redirect the jet thrust towards the front, causing the boat to travel backwards. The neutral position is actually a balance between forward and reverse. Unlike a car, there is no transmission. The powertrain always produces thrust when the engines are running, so some boat movement is possible, especially if you rev the engines. There is also another interlock. The shift lever must be in neutral before you can start the engines. Anyone operating a sport boat should be familiar with all of the cockpit controls before heading out onto the water. These controls include choke knobs for each engine. Pull them out to start cold engines and push them back in when the engines have started. Instrumentation includes a fuel gauge. This works when the left or port engine main switch is in the on position. There are two tachometers. The one on the left side of the dash is for the left or port engine, and the one on the right side of the dash is for the right or starboard engine. While operating the boat, fine-tune the throttle lever settings so both engines are turning at the same RPM. The speedometer reads in miles per hour. You have two banks of switches under the steering wheel. Just below each is a breaker reset button. The blower switch is used to vent any gasoline vapors in the engine compartment. Since gasoline vapors are highly flammable and explosive, always operate the blower for at least 4 minutes before you start the engines. This switch activates the circuit for the bilge pump. The pump will cycle a systems check when first turned on, but will not operate unless it senses excessive water in the bilge. This switch should be on whenever the boat is in the water and off when the boat is out of the water. There's a power switch for the audio system, which is standard equipment on the LX and AR models, located inside the storage compartment at the passenger's console. It can be operated with its main controls or by a remote keypad conveniently located on the upper deck. This switch also works with the audio unit available as an accessory for the LS2000. This switch turns on the courtesy light located under the dash. The boat light switch is a 3-position switch that controls the bow light, the stern light, and the instrument lights. Press the switch down to turn on the stern light if you're at anchor at night. Press the switch up to turn the bow, stern, and instrument lights on when boating at night or in limited visibility. The switch is off when it's in the middle position. This switch is used to sound the horn. Your Yamaha sport boat is equipped to carry up to 7 people, including the driver. Note that the combined weight of you and your passengers, plus your gear or cargo, should never exceed the specified maximum of 1,300 pounds. There are 2 seats in the front, 2 in the middle, and 3 in the rear. The middle seats for the driver and 1 passenger are 2-way adjustable. The front lever underneath the cushion will move the seat forward and backward, while the side lever will unlock the seat and allow it to pivot 180 degrees. The seat must be in the full forward position for it to fully rotate and must be locked into position before getting underway. Your boat is also equipped with several storage compartments. This bow compartment can be used to conveniently store dock lines. There are 2 large storage tubs underneath the hinged windshields of the driver and passenger's console. The one in front of the driver's console also houses the storage container for the fire extinguisher. The small storage compartment located in front of the passenger's console houses the audio system and contains a 12-volt accessory outlet. This outlet is always on. See your dealer for accessories appropriate for your sport boat. There is also a large removable storage tray located under the engine hatch. When removed, it enables access to the engine compartment and can be used to store any extra items such as PFDs. The stern light that will be necessary during nighttime operation is also located in the tray. And last is the ski locker. This compartment is actually much larger than the opening and will easily hold skis, a paddle, and other necessary gear. The popular bimini top for Yamaha sport boats is designed to provide comfort and convenience to your passengers and is a standard feature on the LX and AR210 models. It has 3 positions, fully collapsed for trailering, the upright position, and the fully open position. When transporting your LX or AR210, be sure that the bimini is in the fully collapsed position. The top should also be secured to the boat by either installing the boat's cover or with an elastic cord attached to the top and the ski hook. When moving your bimini to the upright position, have a second person assist to install the rear push pins. To fully open, unzip the cover and unfold the top towards the bow. Secure the front straps to the deck hooks. The canvas should be tight, so adjust the front straps as necessary. To remove your bimini top, return it to the fully collapsed position and remove the pins. Another feature now standard on the LX and AR210 is the complete carpet kit. It is held in place by Velcro and is easily removed for cleaning. Pull the carpet out of the boat and sweep, vacuum, or wash it off with a mild detergent. When washing, be sure to let it fully dry in the sun before reinstalling. Most boating adventures usually begin in the same place, the driveway. This is where you need to take a few minutes for careful inspection before you leave home. We'll demonstrate some of these checks, which include briefly running the engine, and also show you some of the gear you'll need to enjoy a fun day on the water. Start with a walk around the trailer and inspect the wheels and tires. Check tire pressure and lug nut tightness. Examine the wheel bearings and be sure they're adequately greased. Then push on the grease piston to be sure it moves, indicating it's off its stop. Inspect the hitch. Always use a ball that's the exact size for the hitch. It should be lightly greased and the coupler should be securely latched. Be sure the safety lines are crisscrossed under the hitch with just enough slack to allow a tight turn. In case the trailer becomes disconnected, the trailer will remain with the tow vehicle. Check the trailer lights, running lights, brake lights, turn signals to see if they're connected and working properly. And finally, make sure the bow strap winch, bow tie down, and stern tie downs are secured. Move into your boat and go through the pre-operation checks in your owner's manual. To prevent accidental starting of the engines, be sure you understand the function of each control and remove both keys and the engine shutoff cord clip. Test the steering wheel movement. It should turn smoothly with no roughness. And make sure there's no free play or looseness. Have a second person outside the boat watch the movement of the jet nozzles to see that they change direction as the steering wheel is turned. Open the rear platform hatch and check the jet pump cleanout caps. Give the T-handle of each cap a strong pull. There should be no movement. If movement is felt, remove the cap by pressing the release button. Note that the cap needs to be reinstalled with its notch facing the bow. Insert the cap and firmly push down on the T-handle. Check the cap again to make sure it is locked. Close and latch the rear platform hatch. Check if the shift lever moves smoothly. The gates must drop down over the nozzles when the lever is set in reverse and move up when the lever is in the forward position. Anyone near the stern of the boat should keep hands away from the gates during this test. Be sure the drain plug in the center of the transom is tight. Operate each throttle lever several times. Make sure both move smoothly without any hesitation. When you finish, return the levers back to the idle position. Press the bilge pump switch and listen for the bilge pump to cycle. Turn the main switches to the on position and look at the fuel gauge to see if you'll need to get gas on the way to the water. Coast Guard regulations require a sound signaling device. Press the horn switch to confirm that it works. Check the operation of the bow, stern, and instrument lights. Open the engine compartment by pulling up on the two latches located under the front of the engine hatch for a quick but thorough inspection. The engine hatch is supported by two gas-filled shocks on either side. Remove the storage tray, then check the oil level in the tank, and if necessary, top up with Yamaha 2W for watercraft. If Yamaha isn't available, insist on another premium quality TCW3 rated outboard oil. Inspect the battery to make sure the connections are tight. Look over the engines. Check the spark plug caps and electrical connectors for loose connections. Examine the fuel filters and be sure they don't have any water in them. Look and smell for fuel leakage. If there's any fuel or oil in the engine compartment, clean it up right away and find the source. Take the boat to a Yamaha dealer. Do not operate the boat if you suspect a fuel leak. Be sure the engine compartment drain plugs are tightened. Replace the storage tray, then close and latch the hood. If the fuel supply shutoff valves were previously closed for long-term storage, remove the access cover under the center passenger seat and open them at this time. A good way to ensure fun on the water and avoid any launch ramp frustration is to pre-run each engine before you leave home. You can start and run each engine for up to 15 seconds without any damage. Operate the blower for 4 minutes. Don't be tempted to skip this step. Gasoline vapor in the engine compartment could ignite, causing fire or explosion. While the blower is operating, attach the engine shutoff switch clip. Remember the interlock. The shift lever must be in neutral before you can start the engines. After 4 minutes, insert the main switch keys. You will turn each of them to start to crank the starter motor. As you hear the engine start, release the key. The switch will remain in the on position until the key is turned off to stop the engine. Once you've determined that both engines are running, pull the engine shutoff cord to stop them and to test that the engine shutoff switch is working correctly. Turn the main switch keys off. Remember, you are merely checking to see if the engines will start, so keep it brief. Running the engines without water for longer than 15 seconds may cause them to overheat and result in engine damage. That completes the pre-operation checks on your sport boat. But there are a few more things to take care of while we still have the boat in the driveway. Be sure you have all the required gear. You and each of your passengers must wear properly fitting Coast Guard approved personal flotation devices. You will also need visual distress signals, a paddle, a wetsuit or wetsuit bottom for anyone who will be water skiing, and a fire extinguisher. Check the fire extinguisher to be sure it's fully charged and ready. Pack your mooring fenders and line, anchor and line, tow rope, waterproof flashlight with extra batteries, navigation charts, manual type bilge pump, spare spark plugs and fuses, toolkit, and the other recommended items found in your owner's manual. Be prepared for the unexpected before you venture out. Take a first aid kit and marine radio. Check marine weather forecasts to be sure that prevailing weather conditions are good for boating before you go. And don't forget to file a float plan, either with someone at home or with a responsible person at the launch area. A sample is in your owner's manual. As you get ready to leave, remember that launch ramp courtesy is essential for boating enjoyment. Have all your gear packed and your boat ready to go beforehand so you don't tie up the ramp. The less time you have to spend on the launch ramp, the sooner you and the person waiting to launch after you can get on the water. When you get to the ramp, park out of the way while you finish preparing the boat for launch. If there's anything else you're going to take with you that isn't already in the boat, put it in now. Turn on the engine blower so it can run while you finish preparations. Activate the bilge pump, and if you can, watch other boaters as they launch. Look for any problems they're encountering, such as currents, obstacles, or an excessively slippery ramp. Attach the mooring lines and fenders on the side you'll dock the boat on after launch. Remove the bow and stern tie-downs. You and all your passengers must wear Coast Guard approved PFDs during the operation of your sport boat. Footwear and eye protection are recommended, and you may want to consider wearing gloves. The engine shutoff cord should be attached to the person operating the boat at all times during operation. A good place to secure the cord is on a PFD. Be sure the cord is not tangled in the controls so that the clip is always able to pull away from the shutoff switch. When all the gear is packed and the blower has run for at least 4 minutes, double check that everyone aboard is wearing a PFD. If they are, you're ready to launch. While each person develops a launch method that feels most comfortable and the conditions at each ramp are different, here's a common launch strategy. Back the trailer down the ramp into the water at as close to 90 degrees to the shoreline as you can. Remember to turn the wheels the opposite direction you want the trailer to go. An easy way to remember is to put your hand at the bottom of the steering wheel. Then simply move your hand in the direction you want the trailer to go. Stop when the intake grates for the jet pumps are submerged. Remove the bow strap winch hook from the bow. Pull out the choke knobs and start the boat. Shift the boat into reverse and back it off the trailer. No one should sit on the front storage cover. It doesn't have handholds and is not designed to be a seat when the boat is in motion. Seats that move must be in the lock position before getting underway. Be sure that passengers are sitting with their feet flat on the deck and not on the sides of the boat. Instruct your passengers to use the handholds whenever the boat is in motion before moving away. As pilot of the boat, you are responsible for the safety of your passengers. Everyone on board must wear a properly fitting Coast Guard approved personal flotation device. When seating your passengers, try to balance their weight from side to side as much as possible. And remember not to exceed 7 people or a maximum of 1,300 pounds at any time. Arrange your passengers so that the view ahead of the driver is clear and unobstructed. Be aware that boats steer from the stern. When turning, the stern first swings in the direction opposite the way the boat is going to go. Remember that you need throttle to steer. Pulling back the throttles to idle while traveling at speed will rapidly decrease your ability to steer. While some turning ability may exist immediately after pulling back the throttles, once the engines slow down or are stopped, the boat will no longer respond to steering wheel input until you apply throttle again or reach a trolling speed. As you navigate, keep in mind that boats don't have brakes. Water resistance stops the boats after you let off on the throttles. Your fully loaded sport boat can take around 450 feet or 1 1/2 football fields to stop from full throttle. While the sport boat slows as soon as you pull the throttles back to idle, it will coast for a distance before fully stopping. If you don't think you can stop in time before hitting an obstacle, apply appropriate throttle and turn in another direction. Don't shut off the engines while you're slowing down. You cannot steer without jet thrust. Using more power will turn the boat more sharply. Also, do not use reverse to try to slow down from speed, because you could lose control, be ejected, or impact boat surfaces. There are rules of the road for boating, just as there are for streets and highways. Always maintain a safe distance from other boats and obstacles, and watch for other boat traffic. You can pass another boat from either side. When you meet another boat on the water, keep in mind who has the right of way. Stay to the right if you're meeting a boat coming from the opposite direction. You should yield right of way to any boat approaching you from the right or starboard side, anywhere in the area from straight ahead back to 112 degrees, or just pass straight off the starboard side. If a boat is approaching from this direction, you are responsible for taking evasive action by turning to the right and going behind the path of the other boat. Likewise, you have the right and responsibility to maintain your speed and course if a boat is approaching you from any other direction, so he can best plan how to avoid you. Obviously, if a collision looks possible, both boats should maneuver to avoid it. Before changing direction, be sure your maneuver will not put you in risk of a collision. You'll find a summary of additional rules of the road in your owner's manual, and more complete information is available from your local Coast Guard auxiliary. As operator of the boat, you must scan constantly for people, objects, and other watercraft. Look carefully to be sure that the path ahead is clear. Then start to accelerate. As you do, be prepared for the bow to rise, which could possibly obstruct your vision ahead temporarily. Operate defensively at safe speeds and keep a safe distance. Do not follow behind other watercraft, and don't go near others to spray or splash them with water. Avoid sharp turns or other maneuvers that make it hard for others to avoid you or understand where you are going. Sharp turns or jumping wakes or waves can increase the risk of back and spinal injuries, including paralysis, facial injuries, and broken legs, ankles, or other bones. Do not jump wakes or waves. In the event that you come across an unavoidable swell or wake, you can minimize jolt to you and the boat by using the proper technique. A general guideline is to quarter the wake, which is crossing at a 45-degree angle. Crossing at a 90-degree angle is necessary if the wake is larger and cresting. If you're crossing at a very narrow angle, say only 10 degrees or so, be prepared for the boat to try to steer away from the wake. Don't use your boat in water that is less than 3 feet deep. Sand or pebbles can be sucked into the jet intakes, which could damage the impeller. Shallow water also increases your chance of colliding with an underwater obstacle. Stay away from swimming areas. Swimmers are hard to see, and you could accidentally hit someone in the water. If you're going to water ski, you'll need a rearward-facing observer. The observer should sit in the pivoting seat with it locked in the reverse position. Like everyone else, your water skier must be wearing a PFD. Normal swimwear does not offer protection from forceful entry of water into body cavities that can occur from being near jet thrust nozzles or falling into the water. For that reason, water skiers must also wear a wetsuit bottom or special clothing that provides equivalent protection. Because strong streams of water and debris exiting the jet thrust nozzles can cause severe injury, shut off the engines if passengers are in the water directly behind the boat or boarding from the water. Anyone boarding from the water should use the boarding step on the transom, not the jet pump housings, to climb onto the swim platform. It's also important to have the engines off when anyone is using the extended swim step on models equipped with one. Exhaust gases coming from underneath the step contain carbon monoxide, a colorless, odorless gas which may cause brain damage or death when inhaled. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include nausea, dizziness, and drowsiness. As you use your sport boat, you may encounter weeds or other debris in the water. These can clog the jet intakes, causing loss of power. You can help avoid problems by staying out of areas with a lot of weed growth. If travel in these areas is necessary, move the throttles back and forth. Fluctuating the water pressure at the intake grates will help keep the grates free. If the intakes do clog, you can use the clean-out ports to remove debris. Keep hands, feet, hair, and all other parts of your body and clothing away from the jet intakes on the bottom of the hull while the engines are running. Shut off the engines and remove both ignition keys and the cord. Wait for all movement to stop. Then open the hatch on the swim platform and remove the caps by pressing the release button and lifting the cap from the port. Be sure to set the cap in a place that it won't accidentally get knocked overboard. Reach in and take out the debris. Be careful, the impeller blades can be sharp. To reinstall the cap, align the tab with the slot in the port and push down firmly until it locks. Verify that the cap is locked by pulling up on the handle, then close the hatch. There are interlocks, so the engines won't start again if the hatch is left open. After a long day of fun on the water, you might be tempted to take shortcuts to get home sooner. Remember, correct procedures are as important for your sport boat at the end of the day as they are at the beginning. Don't come in right after you've run the boat at full throttle. Let the engines cool down with a few minutes of operation at idle. When you're ready to pull the boat out of the water, back the trailer in far enough so you can gently power the boat onto it. Never use the bow winch to drag the boat onto the trailer. Once the entire boat is on the trailer, attach and snug the bow winch strap. Pull the trailer out of the water and move to an area not blocking the ramp. Choose a location where the bow of the boat will be higher than the stern. Remove the drain plug at the bottom of the transom and allow any water to drain. Secure the boat to the trailer with your bow and stern tie-downs. On your way home, stop and top off the fuel tank. This will help prevent water condensation in the fuel. If you've been boating in salt water, follow the post-operation checks in your owner's manual as soon as possible. Flush each engine with a garden hose to prevent corrosion and plugging of the cooling system. Open the cap for the engine you're going to flush. After screwing the adapter on the garden hose, press the adapter into the connector and turn until they are securely connected. Start the engine, then turn on the water supply fully. Do not turn on the water supply first because you can cause engine damage. Flush each engine for at least 10 minutes if you've been in salt water. After you've done this, turn off the water supply. Drain any remaining water from the exhaust system by running the engines out of the water for 10 to 15 seconds while alternately pushing and pulling the throttle levers up to half throttle and back. Once both engines have been flushed and drained, open the rear platform hatch. If water is pooled on top of the access port caps, remove them to let the water drain. Clean any sand or other debris from the cap and port sealing surfaces and reinstall the caps. Make sure that each cap is installed with its notch facing the bow. Press down firmly on the T-handle to secure the cap. Then test it by giving the handle a strong pull. If a strong pull can move the handle, the cap is not locked and could be forced out by water pressure during its next use. Next, wash and wipe down the boat and trailer. Open the engine hatch to allow the engine compartment to dry completely to prevent a hothouse effect. When they're dry, spray the engines and other metallic parts with Yamaha silicone protectant. Check over the hull for cracks or other damage. Look at the intake grates under the boat for debris. Fill the oil tank to prevent condensation. If you are going to store the boat for a period of time, say a month or more, use Yamaha fuel conditioner and stabilizer in your full tank of fuel to protect fuel quality and help prevent condensation. Put the conditioner in the fuel tank and run the engines for a couple of minutes with the flush attachment to provide cooling water to the engines. That will ensure treated fuel makes its way through the fuel lines and carburetors too. Storage also means protecting internal engine components from corrosion. Use Yamaha Store-Right fogging oil to thoroughly coat the cylinders, pistons, crankshafts, and other critical components with a protective film of oil. Open the 3 caps on the carburetor silencer cover. Then start the engine and run it at fast idle. Quickly spray fogging oil alternately into each hole until the engine stalls for a maximum of 15 seconds. Reinstall the cap securely, then repeat on the other engine. Close the fuel shutoff valves after this operation. You'll also want to remove the battery and store it in a cool, dry area separate from the boat. Be sure it's topped off with clean distilled water and charge it monthly with a suitable battery charger. Wash and wax your boat. Use Yamaha protectant or other vinyl treatment on upholstery. Be careful not to get protectant or too much wax on stepping surfaces. You could make them slippery. Finally, cover your boat to keep out water and dirt and store it in a protected area until your next boating experience. The more you know about your sport boat and the more you understand about boating, the more enjoyment you and your passengers will have. Prepare yourself by completely reading your owner's manual before you start operating your Yamaha sport boat. Then, if you have any questions about your sport boat, please consult your authorized Yamaha dealer. Obviously, this video and the owner's manual can't give you all the information you need to know about safe, enjoyable boating. Yamaha encourages you to take a boating course from your U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, U.S. Power Squadron, the American Red Cross, or other source. These courses are usually free or at minimal cost. Congratulations! By combining responsible boating with 270 horsepower of sport boat excitement, you are about to discover a one-of-a-kind on-the-water experience. Welcome to the fun and adventure of a Yamaha sport boat. All of the products shown in this video are available from your local Yamaha dealer.